It's Friday, the 26th of July, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, we have 5 big stories to get through today in just 5 minutes, so we better get cracking. Story number 1, there are plenty of nervous investors in technology stocks today, with big falls in major names like Tesla, Nvidia, and Alphabet, raising questions about whether tech has peaked.
Earning reports from Alphabet, parent of Google, and Tesla triggered a slump in big tech stocks, with the Nasdaq on Wall Street down 3.6%, the biggest one-session drop in a couple of years. The big 7 tech stocks lost around $1 trillion in value for the session. The problem for the tech companies is they are what investors called priced for perfection, meaning they are so highly valued that any little disappointment can send share prices tumbling. Tesla's June quarter earnings were down 45%. Its share price closed down 12% yesterday morning. It's still up over 18% over the past month, hardly a crisis. At Alphabet, earnings and revenue expectations were better than expected, but its share price fell more than 5%. Alphabet investors are worried about profit margins. The share price of market darling Nvidia fell nearly 7% as people become just a little more skeptical around the promise of riches from artificial intelligence. Those moves were reflected on the local market yesterday with the tech stocks sold off. It just demonstrates how fickle the market is at the moment, Michael.
Sean, can we say it? Can we say that tech has peaked?
Probably a brave person to say that. I mean, we've been predicting that for a couple of years now and it hasn't happened. But the 6 largest companies on Wall Street are all tech giants: Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, and Alphabet. What's different now to the last couple of years is that interest rates have started to fall. What's different now to the last couple of weeks is that many interest rate sensitive stocks, like small caps, are starting to rise while the tech stocks are falling. The unbridled enthusiasm for anything AI seems to have been tempered a bit as well. That's working against companies like Nvidia and Microsoft. I reckon there's a reality check going on, Michael.
I think you might be right. Sean, story number 2, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will announce a cabinet reshuffle over the weekend after 2 ministers resigned. And you know what? He sounded just a tad like he might be electioneering.
I agree. Linda Burney and Brendan O'Connell will resign from Parliament at the next election and step down from Cabinet immediately. That allows for a reshuffle, which the PM will announce over the weekend. The 67-year-old Ms Burney was the first Indigenous woman to sit in the House of Representatives, the first to be a member of Cabinet. Mr Albanese used the announcement to highlight the government's stability, saying no government in living memory has had the same cabinet and ministerial positions for its first 2 years in office. He went on to say that at the next election due by May next year, he will be seeking to be the first Prime Minister since John Howard in 2004 to serve out a term and be re-elected.
Story number 3. Bit of good news here, Sean. Qantas has now cut prices 6 times this year, and Virgin Australia is averaging at least 1 fare sale a month, according to Flight Centre.
International fares globally fell 6% in the first 6 months of this year from a year earlier. Now, Flight Centre, in a report released this week, said flights out of Australia are 13% cheaper, while fares to Indonesia, including Bali, 18% cheaper. Flight Centre said prices will continue to fall as the cost of living crisis makes consumers more price sensitive. Its CEO, James Kavanagh, said under pressure airlines are seeking to fill planes months before departure times. Therefore, there are deals for early bookers. In fact, he was talking about a 10-day tour to China, including flights and accommodation for less than $1,000. The lower airfares are a partial rebalancing of power from the post-COVID demand surge that gave airlines almost free rein to lift fares. Now, falling fares reflect the growing number of international flights on offer. Also, the fact that we're a little bit more careful with our pennies.
Indeed we are. Last story. No, we're not. It's the fast 4 today. Indeed we are, Sean. Now, story number 4, the chief executive of ANZ, Shane Elliott, and other senior managers are under a bit of pressure over the misleading trading data submitted to the Commonwealth Government last year.
Mr Elliott yesterday said he had delivered a personal apology for misleading the Australian Office of Financial Management about its bond trading activity, with the bank now investigating whether it should have reported the issue sooner. He said the bank's board, chaired by a guy called Paul O'Sullivan, will lead a process to ensure consequences will be applied to senior executives, both past and present, including himself, where appropriate. Several employees in the company's Sydney dealing room have been dismissed or suspended. Now, earlier in the month, the bank admitted that its market division overstated the value of government bonds it traded by more than $50 billion that boosted its prospects to win lucrative government mandates.
Last one, story number 5, US President Joe Biden has framed his decision to drop out of the 2024 race as a bid to unify the nation under a new generation of leaders.
In his first speech since ending his re-election campaign and political career, Mr. Biden gave an 11-minute Oval Office address saying, and I quote, "I have decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation." End quote. He said it was a difficult choice, but ultimately he needed to put aside his personal ambition. He then went on to say, "The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands, the power is in your hands."
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 26th of July, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.